Welcome to the Sunday edition of Open Views, news with a common sense take and an open mind for your opinions. Today, was Kanye West drugged? Is Kamala Harris going to take your guns away? Is Putin going to drop nuclear bombs on Ukraine? Maybe America? Is Bill Maher next in line to dump on Taylor Swift? All this and more, starting now.
Constitution Day was last week. It's an actual federal holiday, but no one noticed, despite the fact that it's probably the greatest legal document ever. Is it flawed? Of course. It was written by humans, and they were all white men, as depicted in this illustration from Google AI.
Oh, don't you worry. We're getting to the Taylor Swift part. But I did want to call out Bill Maher. You know, sometimes I like him, sometimes I don't. But he is funny at times. This one was pretty good. Pretty accurate to the world we live in today.
But how about looking at the actual ideas in it? I won't hold my breath for that, because only 14% of 8th graders are proficient in history now, and only 22% in civics, which may be why 4 in 10 Gen Zers say the authors of the Constitution are best described as villains. Wow. It's amazing, since in 1776, James Monroe was 18. Alexander Hamilton was 21, and James Madison 25. Joe Biden was only 30.
I mean, you have to appreciate liberals eating their own sometimes. Pretty funny.
America's founders, they were the Gen Z of their day. And when they were your age, they started a country. What the fuck have you done? So no, the Constitution isn't perfect because it wasn't written by Taylor Swift, but...
Okay, that's good. You got me there. The thing is here, sometimes I like Bill, sometimes I don't. But I think the broader thing that he was trying to point out is kids today place so much value in these pop stars and these celebrities instead of people of real value. And so I think kind of talking about the Constitution being written by Taylor Swift was kind of a rip on, these kids don't appreciate anything that doesn't come from celebrityism. That's sad. Let's just catch an extra final piece of this segment here. I think he has another really good point, and then we'll move on.
And yes, the founders made excruciating compromises. Obviously, slavery. But slavery was a deal breaker for the southern states. So there would have been two countries. And then to end slavery in North America, it would have involved invading a sovereign nation, instead of having the moral high ground of keeping a union together. Would that have been better? History's complicated, and Gen Z reasoning is not. They think they're pure, but they're really just simplistic. They know two things. White people did some very bad things, and no, that's it. That
ties in a bit to what I was talking about earlier, is that these kids today, they only seem to care about the little bits that they know, the stuff that they can repeat from what was already told to them. And that's sad. I wish kids would actually really think about what they're seeing today, what they're seeing out in the world, and make some decisions for themselves instead of just coming back to something that they were told, something that feels like some kind of mission for them, feels some kind of cause that they need to support. I wish they care more about, what's really in front of them. Stay tuned. We're going to hit up Kanye West. But first, let's talk about Putin. Is he really going to drop nuclear bombs on Ukraine? Is he going to attack America with nuclear weapons? Listen to this. So in Russia, they have a nuclear doctrine, which states really when they can drop nuclear weapons, use nuclear force against other countries, when they can and they can't. And what Putin is saying now is that he wants to adjust this doctrine. He wants to adjust this document to make it a little more broad, so that he can essentially say, if another country with nuclear power supports Ukraine and provides weapons to Ukraine, that Russia is able to fight back with nuclear force. So here, listen to this.
Now Vladimir Putin has said he wants to change that and be more specific, so that to allow Russia to respond with nukes to an attack by any state using conventional weapons, so for example drones, missiles and aircraft. And that's not all. He also said that Moscow would consider any assault from a non-nuclear power that's supported by a nuclear power to be a joint attack. And you don't have to be a military genius to understand that he was referring there to Ukraine being supported by NATO. It was a very thinly veiled warning indeed.
So If America supplies bombs and heavier artillery to Ukraine, does that mean that Russia can attack America? Yeah, we shall see. It's possible that this is really a threat to try to prevent that from happening. I don't know that Russia would actually really attempt that, but we don't know. Putin's a pretty crazy guy. On to the headlining topic. Was Kanye West drugged? So in a recent episode of Candace Owens, she had talked about an interview she had with Kanye West in 2022. She had some information on that interview that she wanted to release back then, but since Kanye had been coming out in the press, had been talking a lot about Jewish people, making a lot of comments that were very unpopular, she held off. And so now she's coming out and talking about how, in her opinion, Kanye was drugged, maybe by the government, maybe by the elites, maybe by Illuminati, that basically Kanye had stepped out of line and now he was kept in check by those. Take a listen.
I believe that Kanye West was MK Ultra'd.
Which was a program back in the, I want to say 50s, where the government would actually give you drugs and kind of mess with you as part of keeping you in line and controlling you. I'll pop a segment in later where Candace talks about that a bit more. But continue following her along on this journey.
I think that obviously the person who played a part in having that done was Harley Pasternak, his trainer. And I'm going to read you what the press ignored at the time when Kanye was tweeting about, quote unquote, the Jews. It's still stunning to me that the press ignored him saying that Harley Pasternak was a piece of this puzzle that lent to his frustration. Ye tweeted, "What should be obvious by now is that I was raised to stand for my truth regardless of the consequences, so I will say this again. I was mentally misdiagnosed and nearly drugged out of my mind to make me a manageable, well-behaved celebrity."
So essentially saying that he was drugged, maybe to keep his mouth shut, by his trainer. But why does he feel like it was his trainer who had done this? So Candace further talks a bit about the messages that he had traded with his trainer. So check this out.
"I have you institutionalized again, where they medicate the crap out of you, and you go back to Zombieland forever. Playdate with the kids just won't be the same." Just ask you guys watching this right now, do your personal trainer speak to you like that?
Well, Candace, to be honest, I haven't had a personal trainer in a while, but last time I had one, I don't, probably not. I think if a trainer was going to offer me anything, seeing other trainers probably would be steroids. I think I don't know about jogged out of your mind kind of stuff. Probably not what I'm going to see. So yeah, absolutely does sound strange. It is a very very odd situation. I don't know if I fully believe Kanye or not. Fully believe what Candace got out of that interview, but what do all of you think? Do you think that Kanye was drugged, was kept in line? Or do you think that this is maybe an excuse on Kanye's part? Throw your comments in the chat. Want to know either way, which way you think this goes. All right, so I want to get into big boys or girls, and I want to get into Kamala coming into your house. Take your guns. But first, just to round out this last topic, I'll give you a little bit of segment on a little bit more about what an MK Ultra is, and then we'll switch to maybe a little bit funnier topic, and then come back to Kamala breaking into your house.
Doctors in the CIA had come up with a program and essentially were trying to find a means to give people mental disorders. MK Ultra program, COINTELPRO, they were fascinated with trying to essentially control minds. That was a real program. It's worked, and one of the means in which minds are controlled is by the mainstream media, by propaganda, which you could say is the spawn of the work of a bunch of pedophiles. That is the reality. Pedophiles created propaganda.
So a government program to try to control people, give people mental disorders. Is that something we could actually see in America? Is that something that could be a reality for us? Maybe have been in the past or in the future? Put that comment in the chat. Let me know. All right, let's switch from a small to a big boy. Big girl.
We thick and we pretty and we know what we about. It's the battle of the big girls.
In case you didn't know, Lizzo went from this to this. She decided to do a bunch of workout, bunch of putting in the work, getting it done, eating healthy, eating less, and she looks. I mean, she's not a small girl, obviously, but a ton of work. Feels a lot better about herself. And I think what's kind of messed up. Speaking of culture, speaking of woke culture, when she wanted to do this a few years ago, everybody dumped on her, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous. You don't have to have a specific body image by any stretch. I am not in amazing shape, but to celebrate unhealthy living is ridiculous. I think we need to get back to a time where we actually care about being healthy. That's important. You'd have to beat yourself up for it, but being healthy is a positive thing. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't hate on it. Changing gears, here is a segment from quite a few years back, a statement that Kamala made. Apologize for the potato quality. Unfortunately, that's all that we have. But her talking about how she's going to come into your house and make sure your guns are properly secured. So when I hear her in the debate and in interviews talking about how her and Tim Walz own guns, that sounds like an outright lie to me. Listen to this.
It's people who own guns who are quietly sitting on those guns, and those guns might end up being the weapons of the destruction of a community because they get in the hands of some kid who decides that they like what they see on television and they want to act that way. So this is about just basically saying that we're going to require responsible behaviors among everybody in the community, and just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affairs.
Would you be okay with Kamala coming into your home and checking on your guns? Maybe you don't have guns. I don't know. Let me know. Put that in the comments. I understand that we have a lot of school shootings in the country, and there's a lot of talk about changing gun laws and all of that. But would Kamala coming into your house, maybe Tim Walz coming into your house, taking a peek, just kind of walk in, take a look at your guns. They're not going to do anything weird. They're just going to look at your gun rack or whatever, or see, if you got your guns locked up, or, it's easy for kids to get at them, and they'll just walk out. That's it. No big deal. What do you think? Put that in the chat. If you enjoyed this content so far, really trying to grow this channel, so please go down there and click subscribe so you don't miss any more content, as well as it'll help me be able to spend more time, make these videos longer, make these videos better, and continue to improve. Thank you very much. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your thumbs up, and click on one of these other videos so that we can keep going.